I hate it. I hate it so much. Except then I actually began to love it. It's a 12 megapixel micro 4/3 body, so double the focal length. This 20 millimeter lens becomes a 40, which is actually a really nice focal length, I think. And this was not the first micro 4/3 body from Olympus, which I originally thought, but it was the third. The first was the EP1, then the EP2, and then the EPL1. What distinguishes this from the other cameras was it was really targeted towards more of a point and shoot consumer, someone who just wanted something they can shoot off the shelf, not a lot of manual functions or functionality. And that is, I think, what really turned me off at the start of my relationship with this camera 2 weeks ago. I've shot it before 2 weeks ago, but I really kind of dismissed it because I did not enjoy the experience of it or the ergonomics of it. And so I spent the first week absolutely hating this camera and being like, oh God, when is this 2 weeks gonna be over? Why do I have to have this as my dedicated daily carry? But a week into it, something changed. And that was, I kind of discovered a little bit more of the customization within the camera, and there's actually a crazy amount that you can customize in here to make it not a horrible experience. I mean, that's not fair. It actually became a really nice shooting experience, so much so that like I kind of want to take this with me on a trip I'm going on in the near future. A couple of things, as you can see, I have the VF-2, which is the external viewfinder. I really dislike cameras where I don't have a viewfinder. I'm very much someone who wants to shoot from my eye and not from a screen. It's just, I don't know, if I'm gonna shoot from a screen, I'm gonna shoot from my phone, and it's just not as fun for me personally. So I happen to have this from a different camera, and it works beautifully on here. This does not work on the EP1 or EP2 as I understand, so that is a perk. Some of the things from a user experience, I do shoot this in like aperture or shutter priority or P mode, frankly. Like the P mode works totally fine as long as you're kind of locking off your ISO range or just dedicated to one ISO. I shoot this at base ISO, which is 200, and it works great. Like I have not been unhappy having now customized it a bit more with any of the shots at ISO 200. Obviously I'm not shooting this in the middle of the night, but I shot this on Halloween with a micro 4/3 adapted lens to my 4/3 25 millimeter 1.4 from Panasonic. The AF was shockingly snappy. It nails the AF, which I did not expect at all. It has face tracking on it. I mean, it's really a very capable camera. None of this was expected, as you can tell. So it has in-body stabilization. It has 3 versions of in-body stabilization. There's stabilization mode 1, which is like you just kind of all the time stabilization. It's just like a basic, and that's what I use 99% of the time. Then there's like a vertical axis stabilization and a horizontal axis stabilization. We're talking 2010, that's like some sophisticated stuff. And then again, it has the face tracking. So it really does very well on single point autofocus. Like all cameras of this generation, I do not put this on continuous autofocus. I tried it. It works, but it's very laggy, and it's so much easier and much faster to just go center and recompose. So that's how I use this guy. I will again say what I said in my E300 DSLR review from Olympus. These lenses are focused by wire. I cannot stand focus by wire, but if you are going to use this camera, you can adapt it to like manual focus glass from the OG days, and I have tons of lenses from Pentax, from Minolta, that you can adapt on here. And if you have this viewfinder, it has a punch-in or a auto zoom function, like a focus assist function, so that you can dial in the not autofocus, but you can dial in the focus, and it works really well. Like, not current contemporary Sony level well, it doesn't, but it has focus peaking. It has all of the bells and whistles that you would expect from a modern camera. It's just maybe not quite as sophisticated or quite as refined like the EVF in here. This is a great VF-2 viewfinder, but obviously the pixel count is not going to be what you get in a modern viewfinder. But that being said, it's entirely capable. And I'll actually throw in some video here as I'm talking of me filming my daughter with a hella cheap lens. I think it was like $30. And I used this camera, which I got for $60, with that lens and this EVF, and shot a little video. And I used that lens and that setup to film my daughter putting on pants. She's 2, so this was like a monumental event. But it turned out lovely. I mean, for social, and honestly, even for just home video that like she'll appreciate one day, it 100% does the job. So that's that. It has decent dynamic range in RAW files, so JPEGs definitely clip the highlights a bit more than I would like, but you know, if I'm in a bright scene, I just reduce the, like I do with all these bodies of old, I just reduce the compensation by like 0.3, 0.7, and I bring up the shadows in post. It works. Again, I do shoot this in RAW like I do with all of my cameras. And I would say in terms of the RAW files, they work really well on this camera, and probably all Micro Four Thirds are this way, work really well with DXO. So I did use DXO PhotoLab for these files and was delighted. DXO PhotoLab 5 just came out. You can trial it for like 30 days. It's fun. It works really nice. But they also work totally great in Lightroom. I'm sure they work in Capture One no problem. So whatever platform you're editing with, I am not concerned with what you'll get out of these files. They sharpen up nicely, they have nice color rendition, and all of that. I was concerned about the battery life. Doesn't seem like I need to be. I have not run out of battery on this, shooting, you know, casually in a single day. Never had an issue. I do love that this has a built-in flash. Pop. Again, cute little flash. It works, it's effective. It's obviously not gonna have like a huge trajectory. It's a small flash. I guess you could kind of bounce it up, but it's not like the Panasonic L1 where you actually have like a multi-phased flash. It's really cool. This one just goes out. And for casual night shots of friends in a bar or something like that, it's perfect. And in terms of back buttons, there aren't a ton, but there's just enough to get by. So you have a menu function. Let's see what else you have on here. Info. You do have kind of the quick menu, which is really nice. That start OK button in the middle, right there. You hit that and then you can kind of get a quick menu, and again, everything that I needed access to, I could access there quickly, no problem. What else? You, like I said, have movie functionality here. There's a dedicated movie button, which is nice. I've actually reassigned it because I don't shoot a lot of video with this, as you can imagine, but it's nice that it's there. Finally, let's see, what else? Oh. I love this EVF. I'm just going to comment on it really fast because what's fun is you can waist level viewfind, and I do that. It makes for a fun experience. Also, it actually functionally works for shots that I might not get otherwise, because obviously there's no tilting screen. I mean, you know, to be expected of that era. Although a lot of cameras of that era, like the Canon G5 that I have, do have tilting screens, and they're fully reversible and all that. What else? I will say Micro Four Thirds is a system I know is dying, but which I will hold on to steadfastly. I love Micro Four Thirds. I think it's a fantastic system. I prefer a little bit more depth of field. I'm not someone who shoots wide open at like 1.2 on a full frame. So I love Micro Four Thirds. I will continue to use Micro Four Thirds, and it has my favorite aspect ratio. I love a 4:3 image, which is actually not why it's called Micro Four Thirds. Great video by Gerald Undone that I will link out here if you're curious. But the 4:3 aspect ratio is something I will resize my, regular 4:3 or whatever, 4:6, the standard full frame aspect ratio. I'll resize it to 4:3. I like it that much. So the fact that it's native to the camera makes me really happy. But it does have 16:9 and 3:2 if you want those things. The metering overall is fantastic. It does a totally solid job. I use, just evaluative metering, and it nails it 90% of the time. It has one-touch white balance, which is an Olympus original feature. It's just really nice. I have customized it to this button over here. I hit it once. I pointed at something white in the scene if I want to do my white balance, and it just captures it through the shutter button. So easy, so nice if you're doing video. I don't use it in photo because I'm shooting raw, but for video, super practical. Okay, obviously the thing to mention about this is it's a 2010 camera. It's cheap. I mentioned it already, but I got it for $60, and I got it with the kit lens, which is a 14-42 kit lens. Super decent kit lens, like nothing to complain about. Is it the sharpest lens in the world? No, but I treat this again like a film camera, and that little bit of like degradation actually kind of leans into the grain that I would apply and all the things that make it feel a bit more like film anyway. So totally great. I'm saying totally great a lot because I do actually really like this camera now. I hated it for so long. I was really frustrated when I started shooting it, but I've come around, so I can give it my recommendation. You can find it on the used market. Facebook Marketplace, I'm sure, is full of them, as is eBay. eBay always runs higher, but go to some of the unexpected places like the Mercaris and the OfferUp.com and all that, and you'll find them for cheap. Overall though, super happy with it. Doesn't have the color rendition of the Olympus DSLRs that I love so much with their original CCD sensors. The E300, the E1. I think the E500 had the same sensor, but I haven't shot that one. But those cameras have color that is to die for. This one has a bit more of a magenta cast, so I found myself initially really having to try to figure out how to post-process them in a way that made me happy. So on my Instagram, you'll see there's kind of a series of, as I've evolved my relationship with the camera, there hit a point where I shot photos of my daughter in front of a merry-go-round, and that's the point at which I was like, okay, now I get the color. And so I finally dialed in what I like with my color on these files, but it did take a minute. They don't organically come out of camera just like perfect, which I kind of feel the E300 and E1 do. And now for my favorite part of this video, which is the part I get so excited about, drawing the next camera that I will be taking with me on a trip. But unfortunately, I forgot the box that has all the camera slips in it. So cut to future me, and we will see what I'll be shooting for the next 2 weeks. Okay, so we're back in my home office because this is where my box of cameras exists. So now is the time to draw the camera for the next 2 weeks that I will be shooting. I have no idea what I'm going to draw, but I'm excited because I am going to be traveling for the first time in what feels like forever. And this will be the camera coming with me. Oh, I drew 2. All right, let's try that again. This one. No, I don't like it. I want vibes. I want vibes. Okay, here we go. Okay. A little underwhelming, but also awesome. This is actually a fantastic travel camera. It's not what I was hoping to draw, but it'll be a really good test of what is at hand. So this is the Olympus TG-5 as my all-the-time camera. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see how it goes. But you're about to see a lot of photos on Instagram from the Olympus TG-5. Also, before I go, one thing I wanted to ask is, how do you like this format? It is so off the cuff and it's so clearly not very organized, but do you enjoy it? Do you want more structure? Do you want more details, more specs? I don't tend to be a spec person, but I can certainly lay into that a bit more if that's of interest. Let me know how you're liking it. Let me know what I can do to improve, and I look forward to showing you my review on the TG-5 soon. Bye.